Hey everyone. Today I want to talk about something that way too many service providers do, especially smaller ones or people that are just starting out. And that is to discount their services. Now, what usually happens is you'll be out there scraping and scraping and scraping and trying to find a client, and you finally get somebody who's interested. You have this conversation with them, and it gets down to the sale, and they look at it and say, yeah, man, I really want to work with you, but, what can you do on the price? It's kind of expensive. That's when way too many people make the mistake of cutting the price to get the business. Now, yeah, great, you got the business, but it's now done a couple of things that are not good. One, it has devalued what you do, so now you're doing the same amount of work, but you're doing it for less money, so I guarantee you're not going to be happy. And the other thing that you've done, in spite of what you think, is, I'll discount this time and I'll get in the door, they'll see how great the work is and they'll want to pay full price next time. Never works that way. You come in the first time and you cut the price, you've now just established the ceiling for what you will ever be able to charge that person, not the floor. So you're pretty much going to be forever stuck doing work at these cut rate prices. So as much as there's a temptation to do that, and don't, for all the reasons that I just said, right? You're devaluing your service. You're essentially saying, oh yeah, no problem, I'll do that for free because, you just don't feel like paying for it. For whatever reason with services, people think that they can get away with that and that's normal, whereas that same person wouldn't walk into a store, pick something up off the shelf and say, yeah, I know this costs $500, but I only feel like paying you $300. So, you need to develop this mindset that your work and your time has value, and you don't devalue it. And when you start doing that, what you're going to find is that you attract a higher class of client, frankly, because they're not looking for a cheap solution. And you also keep yourself in a place where you're being fairly compensated for what you're doing. Now, one of the other reasons that a lot of people will end up in that position in the first place goes to a much bigger problem with how they're doing selling and marketing, which is they're not really communicating the value that they deliver, and they're not really differentiating themselves from their competition. So when you can't do those two things, about the only thing you're left with is price. So that goes straight to, I'm going to do it cheaper, or I'll agree to do it cheaper, or somebody doesn't see the value in it, so they're expecting you to do it for less money. So if you do a good job up front of communicating the value that you deliver to your client, and you do a good job of communicating how you're different from all the other people that do this thing, you're going to have a much easier time sticking to the price that you want to get for your work. And and the other thing when those negotiations come up is that a lot of times somebody basically says, can you do it for less? And if the answer is, no, I can't, often they'll just cave and they'll pay you what you asked for. And if they walk away, then they walk away, and you probably didn't want them as a client anyway. Now, if you are going to get into a situation where you're going to agree to do work for less money, the thing to avoid is you're not going to do the same work for less. You do less for less, or more for more, but you're not going to do the same for less. So the next time somebody says, can you do it for less? In that moment, maybe your response could be, no, I can't, and that's the end of it, if that's where you want to go. Or if you want to have some form of flexibility and still get some work out of it, the response should then be, okay, for that amount, we can do this, but not these things. So fine, they want to pay less, they're going to get less. And then after that's over, then it's time to really examine how are you not communicating the value that you're delivering that precipitated that price conversation in the first place? Go back and look at, are you really meeting the needs of the market, and are you communicating that in a compelling way? Or perhaps maybe you're just not talking to the right prospects, so that the people you're talking to don't in fact value what you do, which means you need to find people who do. And that whole issue of creating that value proposition and creating that differentiation is something that I work with all the time with clients, and I'm going to be talking about a lot more in the coming weeks. So if you want to hear about that, definitely follow the page, and you'll get notified when I'm on. And in the next week or so, I'm also going to start pre-announcing when these things are going to happen, so that you can catch them when they're happening. So until then, have a good evening.